Do you ever feel that gap between where you are and where you want to be? That frustrating feeling of working hard, putting in the hours, but not seeing the results you know you're capable of. It feels like running on a treadmill, lots of motion, but no forward progress. The reason you feel stuck isn't a lack of effort. The real issue is hidden. It's an internal architecture, a set of 5 core blockers that operate just below the surface, silently sabotaging your progress. The first and most powerful is the fear of failure. It's that voice saying, "What if I'm not good enough?" This fear shows up as perfectionism and procrastination, stopping you from even starting. But this isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about dismantling the invisible walls holding you back. In this series, we're going to diagnose exactly what these blockers are, so follow along to get your clear path to breakthrough. Have you ever had a brilliant idea, a goal you were genuinely excited about, but found yourself completely stuck, unable to take that first step? What's holding you back? More often than not, it's the single most powerful blocker to progress, the fear of failure. But let's get specific. This isn't just a case of pre-game jitters. Fear of failure is a deep-seated resistance, a voice in your head whispering, "What if I'm not good enough? Or what if everyone sees me mess up?" This fear is so crippling because it doesn't just stop you from chasing huge dreams, it stops you from even starting. This fear is sneaky, and it often disguises itself in 2 very common ways: perfectionism and procrastination. Perfectionism is fear wearing a fancy suit, pretending to be high standards. It's the voice that tells you, if you can't do this perfectly, don't even bother, so you get stuck. You spend weeks researching instead of writing. You tweak that first sentence over and over. You feel busy, but you aren't actually making any progress. You're just spinning your wheels. Procrastination is its twin. It's the deliberate avoidance of a task because the thought of failing is just too uncomfortable. Suddenly, cleaning your entire home seems more urgent than drafting that business plan. You'll answer every single email except the one that actually moves your project forward. Sound familiar? The hidden cost of this fear is massive. It's not just about the business you didn't launch or the promotion you didn't apply for. It's about the personal growth you sacrifice. Every time you let fear make your decisions, you miss a chance to learn, to adapt, and to build resilience. Your skills don't develop. Your confidence shrinks. You end up trapped in a safe, comfortable box that ultimately feels unfulfilling. So, how do we break out? The solution starts with a crucial mindset shift. You must reframe what failure means to you. Stop seeing failure as a final judgment on your worth or your abilities. Instead, start seeing it as data collection. Think about it. Every attempt, whether it succeeds or not, provides you with valuable information. A product launch that flops tells you what your customers want. A rejected proposal teaches you how to strengthen your pitch for next time. Failure is simply feedback. It's the world's way of nudging you and saying, "Hey, try a different approach." When you truly adopt this perspective, the pressure drops. The goal is no longer to avoid failure at all costs. The new goal becomes gathering as much data, as much feedback as possible on your journey toward success. This makes the entire process an experiment, not a test you can fail. All right, so how do you put this into practice right now? Here's a simple, powerful, actionable step you can take today. It's called the worst-case scenario exercise. Think of something you're afraid to do. Got it? Now, grab a piece of paper and write down the absolute worst thing that could realistically happen if you tried and failed. Be very specific. Don't just write, "I'll be embarrassed." Write something concrete like, "My boss might question my judgment in our next team meeting." Next, right beside that, write down exactly how you would handle that situation. What practical steps would you take to recover? Maybe you'd say, "I'll prepare a follow-up email explaining my thought process and what I learned." Finally, and this is the most important part, write down what you would learn from the experience. For instance, I would learn that I need to present my ideas with more supporting data in the future. This simple exercise does something magical. It takes that huge, shapeless monster of fear and shrinks it down to a manageable size. You'll realize that even in the worst-case scenario, you can cope. You can learn, and you can move forward. That realization is the key that unlocks you from paralysis and sets you back on the path to progress. All right, you've pushed past the fear and you're taking action. But for some reason, the needle just isn't moving. You feel stuck, spinning your wheels. This brings us to the second massive roadblock holding you back: unclear goals. You see, there's a world of difference between a vague desire and a measurable target. Saying, "I want to be successful," is a desire. It's a nice thought, a feeling, but it has no finish line. It's a cloud. On the other hand, a measurable target is something like, "I will increase my department's revenue by 15% in the next fiscal year." Now, that asterisk is a goal. It's a specific coordinate on a map. Without a clear destination, busyness takes over. Your days fill up with endless tasks, meetings, and to-do lists. You're constantly moving, but you have no idea if you're actually getting closer to something meaningful. It's like jumping into a sports car, flooring it, and just driving. With no destination in mind. You'll burn through a ton of fuel, sure, but you'll never actually arrive anywhere. This is a primary reason why so many people feel completely burned out. They're exhausted from driving in circles. The power of a defined finish line is incredible, and it's rooted in how our brains work. Your brain is a natural problem-solving machine. When you feed it a clear, specific target, it immediately gets to work. It starts filtering information, spotting opportunities, and generating ideas that are all aligned with that target. This is your reticular activating system, or RAS, at work. Think of it as a mental spotlight. An unclear goal is like shining that spotlight into a thick fog. It just dissipates and illuminates nothing. But a clear goal focuses that beam of light onto a single point. Suddenly, everything relevant to that goal becomes sharp and visible. You'll start noticing articles, hearing conversations, and seeing connections that you would have completely missed before. Your world literally changes to help you. This lack of clarity is what directly leads to the third blocker we'll discuss next: inconsistent habits. It's simple, really. If you don't know where you're going, how can you possibly know what you should be doing every single day to get there? Your daily actions become scattered and reactive. You end up putting out the loudest fire instead of taking purposeful, forward-moving steps. You might decide to learn a new skill one day, only to abandon it the next because there's no big picture plan holding all your efforts together. This inconsistency is precisely what keeps you trapped in a frustrating cycle of starting and stopping, never building the momentum you need for a real breakthrough. So how do we fix this? The strategy is to use a technique called backward planning from a vivid outcome. Do not start from where you are now and try to look forward. That's a recipe for feeling overwhelmed. Instead, start from the end. Seriously, close your eyes and vividly imagine that you have already achieved your goal. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Make it as real and detailed as possible. Now, from that point of success, work your way backward. Ask yourself, what is the one big milestone I would have needed to hit right before achieving this final outcome? And what about the step right before that one? Keep stepping back, piece by piece, until you arrive at a single, actionable step you can take. This powerful process connects your small, daily actions directly to your long-term vision. It transforms a distant, intimidating dream into a series of manageable, logical tasks. It gives you clarity. It gives you direction. It gives you your compass. What's the one thing that separates those who achieve their goals from those who just dream about them? It's not a secret formula. It's the engine that drives everything: your habits and your focus. You can have the clearest, most inspiring goal in the world, but if your daily routine is a mess of poor prioritization, that goal will always stay just out of reach. Think about it. Poor prioritization is an energy vampire. It forces you to constantly ask, what should I do next? This drains your mental battery before you even start the important work. It's why you can have a super busy day, jumping from one thing to another, but at the end of it, you feel like you accomplished nothing significant. We often fall for the myth of multitasking. We wear our ability to juggle a dozen tasks like a badge of honor. But here's the hard truth. Our brains don't multitask. They context switch. Every time you jump from writing a report to checking a quick message, then back to the report, and then over to an email, your brain pays a cognitive tax. It takes time and energy to disengage and re-engage. This constant shifting shatters your concentration and destroys the quality of your work. You end up doing many things poorly instead of one thing exceptionally well. This is where the connection between unclear goals and scattered actions becomes crystal clear. When you're not 100% sure where you're going, every little detour seems like a valid path. The urgent but unimportant task, that notification, that quick question from a coworker, feels just as important as the deep work that actually moves you forward. You become reactive, letting your day be controlled by your environment instead of your ambition. Your actions become inconsistent because they lack a single, unifying purpose. You might have a great, productive Monday, but by Wednesday, you're drowning in a sea of small tasks, completely forgetting why you even started. So, how do you build real, lasting consistency? It's not about forcing yourself with sheer willpower. That's just a fast track to burnout. The real secret lies in two things: intentional environmental design and creating rituals. Environmental design is about setting up your physical and digital space to make the right actions easy and the wrong actions hard. If you need an hour of focused writing each morning, don't leave your phone on the desk next to your laptop. Put it in another room. If you get distracted by social media, use a website blocker during your deep work sessions. You are actively shaping your environment to support your goals, not sabotage them. Then there's ritual. This is about creating a simple, predictable sequence to start your most important work. It's not about being rigid. It's about removing the friction that leads to procrastination. Your ritual could be as simple as making a cup of coffee, putting on a specific playlist, and looking at the single most important task for that session. This sequence sends a powerful signal to your brain. Okay, it's time to focus. It shifts you from debating what to do into actually doing it. And the key that ties this all together is what I call the one thing rule. Every morning, before you dive into emails or messages, ask yourself this powerful question: what is the one thing I can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? This forces you to identify the single most impactful action that moves you closer to your goal. That task becomes your non-negotiable priority. You protect the time for it. You do it first. This single rule is the ultimate antidote to a fragmented focus. It guarantees that no matter what chaos the rest of the day throws at you, you have already made significant progress. Remember, consistency isn't about doing everything every single day. It's about doing the most important thing every single day. What if I told you there's a silent thief that can steal your motivation, no matter how clear your goals or how strong your habits are? It's called the comparison trap, and in our hyper-connected world, it's more dangerous than ever. Let's talk about how to beat it. When you measure your own journey against someone else's, you're doing something incredibly unfair. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes reality, the sweat, the doubts, the long hours with their public highlight reel. This creates a warped perspective where it feels like everyone else is winning faster and easier than you are. But here's the secret. You're only seeing the final product, not the messy, difficult process that got them there. Social media takes this to a whole new level. It's literally designed for people to show off their biggest wins, their promotions, their picture-perfect moments. What you don't see are the years of rejection letters, the failed attempts, or the sleepless nights filled with anxiety. You see the polished book cover, not the crumpled-up first drafts. This constant stream of curated success sets an impossible standard. It can make your own steady, real progress feel small and insignificant. You start questioning everything: your methods, your speed, even your own value. And when your motivation depends on how you measure up to others, it becomes a fragile, toxic thing. That deep internal drive that keeps you going for the long haul, it just withers away. I want to tell you about a professional I know who was completely stuck in this cycle. They were obsessed with LinkedIn, constantly checking their peers' new job titles and promotions. Every time someone else got ahead, it felt like a personal loss. Their entire motivation was tied to outdoing others, and honestly, it was making them miserable. So, what changed? They made one simple, powerful decision. They stopped looking sideways and started looking backward. They created a personal wins document. But instead of tracking revenue against some industry giant, they tracked their own growth. What new skills had they learned? How many projects had they completed? What positive feedback had they received? They even started tracking their energy levels and sense of fulfillment. This small shift was absolutely transformative. By starting to compete only with their past self, they took back control of their own story. Suddenly, a good month wasn't about beating a colleague. It was about improving on their own performance from the month before. All that anxiety from comparing themselves to others just melted away. In its place grew a quiet, sustainable confidence. Their motivation was no longer external and fragile. It became internal and self-renewing. They finally stopped running someone else's race and started running their own. So, here's the decision you need to make today. Commit to competing only with who you were yesterday. This isn't about burying your head in the sand and ignoring what's happening in your field. It's about recognizing that the only comparison that truly matters is your own progress. Are you better, smarter, or stronger than you were last week? Last year? That is the only metric that holds real power. To reclaim your motivation, you have to define what success means. To asterisk, you asterisk. Forget the noise. Based on your own values, your unique strengths, and what you consider a meaningful life. What does a win look like? Once you have that clarity, the achievements of others just become background noise. They are no longer a reflection of your worth. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but you're still not getting the results you want? You're hustling, you're learning, but that big breakthrough just seems out of reach. What if I told you the biggest obstacle isn't the economy, your competition, or a lack of opportunity? Here is the core takeaway that will change everything for you. Your success is blocked primarily by your internal architecture, not by external factors. That's right. The things holding you back are your own beliefs, habits, and mindset. The real transformative work begins when you conduct an honest audit of these 5 crucial areas in your life, ready to find out what they are. The path to your breakthrough is right here, waiting for you to unlock it. If you're ready to start building a life of success from the inside out, subscribe for more videos like this. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you won't miss the next step.